Alright, hey guys. It's me here, whatever you want to call me. I'm not gonna do that kind of intro. Don't care enough. Anyways, I'm making this video here because there's been, a lot of talk about the sorry, brain fart. About the usage and the syntax that you can choose. Because if you don't know, if you're new to JavaScript or this, you have the engine that allows JavaScript to run, and so there are different iterations of that. It's got to improve, get faster, get more efficient, all that good stuff. But as these things go along, there become new and new syntaxes to do same things. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's just new, sometimes it's better to read. And so I'm about to talk to you about some of the differences, and I'll let you choose which one. I'll tell you which ones that I would recommend, and which ones that are generally recommended, um, and reasons about why you'd want to pick those. And I really recommend you watch this video if you haven't clicked away already, because it could really help you become a better developer in the future, and help you improve. So I already have this GitHub up of easy the later features. So let's just transition that over. All right. So what we have here is a GitHub, very nice GitHub. Thank you to Luke Hoban on GitHub. And so these are the updated features. And so I'm going to go through uh, each of these and tell you what I know about them. So for starters, we have arrows. These are really classic. So before in JavaScript, you have just clear this. So before in JavaScript, you have the function notation for something. So let's just say function arm. Let's say there's a function r that's defined. It's not really. Say it is, and we want to call this function. Sometimes, a lot of these need callbacks. Uh, if you're using callbacks, or for some other reason, you would have to pass in function, and then pass in like the parameter names that would be passed back. The standard stuff. But there's this thing called arrows that allows you just to take away the function piece and just go directly to the parameters. If I can type this correctly. And do this. And this is valid. That's a valid syntax. Yeah, and as demonstrated in here, use the arrow syntax. And personally, I don't really use that as much, but that's just because, I've been doing JavaScript for a very long time, and I just used to this, and but I'll probably have to end up switching over. I raid all the cons, and I'll probably be slowly switching over to um to the later version ES6 as the ES6. My God, I hate this. As the ES6 peasants have stated. So next up, classes. Classes. This is a terrible thing to use. I'm not gonna lie. It's helpful in some cases, but generally, they're you want to use the prototypal inheritance, which is what JavaScript was designed to be as. And this is turning it into a more Java-like method. Enhanced object literals. This allows you to assign stuff. I don't know too much about this. But therefore setting the prototype at construction. But this is for prototypal inheritance, like I was saying. Template strings, they provide syntactic sugar for constructing strings. This is actually helpful. I believe this is what it's talking about here, the string interpolation. I do think those are nice. It can be a little weird to mess with sometimes, but um, those I think you should switch into. Makes things more readable. Destructuring. These allow binding using pattern matching with support for matching arrays and objects. It's a fail-off similar to object lookup. Um, I don't really, again, I don't know too much about this, but it's kind of like, you kind of pass an adjacent object to get the object out of something, which can be very, very helpful to do very quickly. Default plus res plus spread. Call the evaluated default value parameters. So yeah, it's then things like the dot dot dot, which allow you to force multiple um, things, and y would be an array that you can access. X, Y, Z. You can pass each element of array as an argument, or you can pass default. These are extremely helpful. I would definitely recommend you start using these if you need it. Don't just go ahead and willy-nilly throw them around because that could be dangerous and it will cause errors. But it's something to certainly get acquainted with. Now we get into let plus const. Let is a new var. Const is single assignment. Constant, I definitely recommend using. That prevents you to override, especially in Node, so like you can't accidentally override things like the things you require, the modules that you need. Let, I'm honestly not a big fan of let. Um, and it's because I just feel like it's kind of unneeded. Um, I really honestly have no clue what it's for. Let's just look here. Scoping rules. Let can be very useful. Be careful with let though, because as you can see in here, for var, these two are going to be the same variable. However, in here, when you're using let, these two are going to be different variables because they're in different scopes. So they both have their uses. So yes, I would recommend using let only when you need to, but those are a bit more advanced, and var should typically do you just fine when you're just beginning. Iterators and for of iterators are extremely important and extremely helpful. I would definitely recommend getting used to those. Generators simplify iterator authoring using function and yield. Um, Yield, I think, is useful. Don't know too much about it, uh, but I'd recommend getting up to date with those because those will probably be useful. Unicode, yeah, don't worry about this. This is something you could just Google, but Unicode will be helpful um, for multi-languages kind of stuff. Modules, definitely get acquainted with these. These are going to be extremely important. Um, and yeah, definitely get used to those module loaders. Definitely, those are again way more advanced than beginner. So don't worry about those if you're just beginning. But as you get better, definitely want to work with these. Map, set, weak map, and weak set. Definitely, these are extremely helpful. I've used them. Um, make doing arrays and stuff really easy. Definitely recommend it. Proxies. Yeah, I'd get acquainted with these, but these are, again, really advanced stuff, and you're not going to need to use them that much, because they're like to trap stuff, intercept stuff, but those can be helpful. Symbols, um, you don't really need to worry about these. You're probably not ever going to use to need them, and if you do, then they'll be really easy to learn. Subclassable built-ins, um, again, you're also not really gonna need to know about these, unless like you get to the point where you definitely need to know them for some specific task. But these are really specialized. A couple of these things, yeah, these are really specialized. Math, all this stuff, definitely learn. Extremely important. Definitely learn these. These can be really helpful. Especially because that's how like you get to understanding computer systems and how they work, how they transfer data, how they store data, all these stuff. Promises. Abandon these. They're awful. Just kidding. These are actually really useful, but as you'll see soon, these are going to be becoming obsolete because of something that's been built on top of them. Reflect API. Don't worry about that. Tail calls. Uh, I don't really see the point of these. You can just use factorials to work. But yeah, so that's good. And there's one more thing, async and await. Um, and those are going to be in ES7, which, and as much as it pains me to say, I'd prefer to use callbacks, honestly, but I'm going to have to start transitioning because callbacks are going to be much more, um, going to be become obsolete soon because this is going to be the future that JavaScript is going to try and go into. But essentially, what it does is it allows you to use things in await and functions that have async in them. So it makes asynchronous non-blocking code, but it also makes it a lot easier to read. Um, there are times when you don't want to use them because it's just the way they work. But when you go into learning them, I definitely recommend you do. Um, you'll want to know that there will be times when you definitely want to use a callback and you definitely want to use async and await. So all in all, to wrap everything up, I'm gonna say I'd recommend that you learn all of ES6 and learn the pros and cons of what they are because most of them are gonna be extremely helpful for even just general daily task kind of thing. Um, while in mind, also make sure you keep track of the older stuff because those are also gonna have their purposes and be still fairly useful for a very long time until something comes up that replaces them entirely. So yeah, thanks for watching. Um, One thing I'd like to note is with async kind of stuff, you get access to try and catch again you didn't used to in callbacks because it forces this to wait for this asynchronous function for these to go if they have a wait in front of it. As you can see here, add 2. This will make it wait 60 seconds. Um, and then add 1 would make it, or it'd make it wait 4 seconds. But this would make it after 2. Just, go into it, learn about it, learn the semantics, and that's all I have to say. So, peace, guys.